revealed how a little girl's heartwarming offer to a lonely CEO transformed his life forever. On a chilly autumn day in a bustling suburb, Sam, the CEO of a booming tech startup, sat alone at a cafe, his fingers tapping rhythmically on his laptop. The aroma of fresh coffee wafted through the air, but the cup before him sat untouched. Despite his bank account brimming with numbers, loneliness seeped through the cracks of his life, thick and suffocating. The town knew him as a success story, a solitary figure wrapped in ambition, but they saw only the shell, a ghost in a sea of vibrant lives. Across the room, a little girl named Lily, with her twinkling brown eyes and a wild mane of curly hair, painted a colorful world on a piece of paper. Her neighborhood was bursting with laughter, warmth, and unyielding unity. But in her heart, she knew that her real neighborhood was struggling. Her father's construction business was faltering, and they were holding the pieces together. Drawing courage from childlike innocence, Lily approached Sam's table. "Hi! Want to see my drawing?" she asked, her voice bright like the brilliant hues she held in her tiny hands. Sam looked up, initially taken aback. A swirl of emotions raced through him, curiosity mingled with surprise. Here was this little girl, her spirit untainted, reaching out to him in a way that no adult ever had. He nodded slowly, a hesitant smile breaking the icy exterior. As she unfolded her masterpiece, Sam felt the warmth emanating from her enthusiasm. "This is my dream neighborhood," she gushed, her eyes sparkling as she described the houses with gardens, children playing, and families helping one another. Each word pierced through the loneliness that had become his constant companion. The more Sam listened, the more the weight of his solitude began to lift. Sharing her vision of a perfect community, Lily pulled him into a world he had long forgotten existed, a place where kindness prevailed. Each laugh and whimsical story formed a bridge between them, revealing the contrast of their lives. But before their connection could deepen, an unexpected thought hit him like a summer storm. Suddenly, the panic set in as he remembered his past dismissals he had made, friendships he had let fade. Could he truly move beyond ambition? Old fears lurked at the edges, whispering doubts as he remembered how the townsfolk looked at him, in suspicion and resentment. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen." Now let's continue facing the shadows of his past. Sam felt his heart flutter with determination. He pictured Lily's drawing, the vibrancy sparking an idea. What if he could create a program to uplift families like hers? Change began to brew in his mind as the spirit of this little girl ignited a firewall of purpose within him. But as the warmth of ambition fueled him, old fears clashed with hope. The clock was ticking, and the community was watching him warily. As the town prepared for a celebration meant to bridge their divides, Sam stood at the threshold of transformation. Would he be accepted, or would their long-held judgments keep him an outsider? Sam took a deep breath, a storm of emotions swirling within. In this moment of conflict, one question hung in the crisp autumn air: could village roots uprooted in ambition take hold in a heart yearning for genuine connections? The answers loomed, leaving everyone anxious to discover what would unfold next. Sam's heart raced as he stood up from the cafe table, the energy between him and Lily igniting a fire within. He admired her innocence and creativity, qualities he had lost amidst board meetings and deadlines. With a newfound purpose bubbling inside him, he needed to act, to channel this fleeting moment into something that could touch lives beyond just his own. "Lily," he said, his voice trembling slightly, "would you like to help me design a community project? Something that can help everyone see the beauty in sharing and caring for one another?" Her eyes widened, excitement radiating from her small frame. "Really? Oh, I would love to!" she exclaimed, bouncing on her heels. They spent the next few hours sketching out ideas on napkins, envisioning community gardens, playgrounds designed for laughter, and a local event where everyone could come together to celebrate their stories. Families united, worries set aside for just a moment. As they collaborated, Sam felt the chains of his past begin to loosen. Every doodle Lily drew felt like a brush sweeping over a canvas, creating a masterpiece of hope. With each passing minute, he saw how their ideas transcended mere plans. They were a bridge to a life he wanted both for himself and the townsfolk who had once only seen him as an untouchable ideal. But even as excitement filled the air, a creeping fear threaded itself into his thoughts. Would the community still see him as the same corporate titan they resented? Could he truly shift perceptions? Still, Lily's laughter rang like a sweet melody, drawing him back to the moment. They finished their brainstorming session with promises of meeting again. As she gathered her things, she paused and looked up at him. "You can do this, Sam. You just have to believe you can," she said earnestly. With a confidence that surprised even him, he nodded. Days turned into a blur as Sam immersed himself in planning for the celebration. He reached out to community leaders, local businesses, and families to put the pieces together. Notes flew back and forth, and meetings filled his calendar. Despite the rush, the memories of isolation haunted him. Each night, as he lay in bed, the reality of the upcoming event loomed larger, both thrilling and terrifying. On the eve of the celebration, he found himself standing on the town square, overseeing the setup. The air buzzed with anticipation. Families began to gather, their worried expressions shifting to curiosity. Sam felt the weight of their eyes on him. Would they turn away? Would they dare to share their lives with him again? As the sun began to set, casting a golden glow over the preparations, Lily marched up to him. "The best part of this is coming together, right?" she said, her voice holding sincere conviction. With her words echoing in his heart, Sam turned to face the crowd slowly trickling in. Standing at the forefront as a new dawn approached, he wondered, would they embrace this chance for unity, or would judgment hold them back? The moment was nearing, and with it came the stirring promise of connection and opportunity to reclaim what had once seemed unattainable. Just as he was about to step forward, a voice emerged from the crowd, one Sam hadn't expected. "What do you want from us, Sam?" It was an accusation wrapped in uncertainty. The stakes had never felt higher, and the answer would shape everything that followed. The murmurs grew louder around him, voices layering confusion and doubt on top of each other. Sam's mind scrambled, searching for the right words, but nothing came. How could he explain? How could he bridge the gap between the past and what he was trying to create now? He stammered, facing the crowd head-on, battling the rising tide of anxiety. I want to help. I want to bring us together." The sincerity in his voice surprised even him, but he pressed on, hoping to connect. "This isn't just about me. It's about all of us. It's about community, about hope." A woman stepped forward from the crowd, arms crossed, skepticism etched on her face. "Hope? You think you can just waltz in here after all this time and bring hope?" Her tone bit into him, but behind her anger, he could feel fear. "What's in it for you, Sam? What do you really want?" He took a deep breath, letting the air fill his lungs, grounding him. "I don't have the answers. I've spent so long focused on profits and numbers that I forgot what it means to connect with people, to understand their lives and struggles. I want to change that. I want to be a part of that change. Together." Silence hung in the air. Sam could see the doubt linger on many faces. The memories of the past loomed like dark clouds, refusing to part. Would they ever forgive him? But then, a small voice piped up from behind the crowd. "I believe him." It was Lily, her eyes bright, glowing with an innocence that Sam admired. "He really cares. We can make something beautiful together, right? Just like we talked about." Something shifted. A few heads turned, debating. Sam felt his heart leap at Lily's fierce conviction. If only he could find that same courage. He stepped forward more firmly, the warmth of Lily's words buoying him. "I know I've made mistakes. I have. I was blind to the needs of this community. But we can build something together, a space for everyone, where a little kindness can grow." A young man raised a hand, his brow furrowed but sincere. And how will you do that? Show us. Prove that this isn't just another scheme. By starting now, Sam replied with determination. Tonight, let us share stories. We each bring something to this table, a memory, a talent. Let us celebrate together, even if it's just the beginning. Slowly, the tension shifted. Faces that were once tight and skeptical softened a little, curiosity replacing some of that doubt. Yeah! Shouted a voice from the back, emboldened by Sam's energy. Let us see what happens when we join in. Lily beamed, and for the first time, Sam felt it too. The flicker of hope spread among the crowd like the first rays of morning sun. Maybe, just maybe, they could come together after all. As the first music notes floated in the air, families began to gather around, laughter spilling out, weaving through the evening as stories started to emerge. Sam's heart swelled with every smile, every handshake, every shared glance. This was more than an event, it was a rebirth of community. But just when Sam thought they might truly connect, his phone buzzed in his pocket. Glancing quickly, he saw a text from his old boss. We need to talk. Don't forget who you are. The earth beneath him felt shaky. Would he have to choose between the businessman he once was and the man he aspired to be? The vibrant atmosphere around him collided with the shadow lurking at the edge of his new reality. Sam? Lily's voice jolted him back. You okay? Yeah, he replied, looking at her bright eyes, each glimmer a reminder of why he was standing there. But the question lingered, could he truly break free from the chains of his past, or would they pull him back into the darkness? As the celebration surged forward, the truth of his dilemma began to unravel, a storm brewing just beneath his skin. What choice lay ahead? The music swelled, laughter weaving into the air like a gentle tapestry. Sam forced himself to breathe, to focus on the faces around him full of warmth, and, for the first time in years, genuine interest. Lily caught his eye again, her smile bright enough to paint the night with hope. Yet the text from his old boss nestled like a stone in his heart. He stepped back to the edge of the gathering, needing a moment to collect himself, while the voices of his neighbors blended into a joyful hum. It was overwhelming but beautiful. People were sharing. Families were laughing. Conversations flowed like old friends reclaiming lost times. And he was standing on the outside, struggling to usher himself into a space that had once felt foreign. Hey, Sam! Come listen to this. It was the young man from before, waving him over. You won't believe the story she's sharing. Sam hesitated, looking down at his phone. His boss had seemed so formidable in the past, so competent in his world of suits and deals. But tonight this felt more significant. It felt like an opportunity to reach for something better, something rooted in connection. When he finally approached, he felt the warmth of the crowd wrap around him. An older gentleman was recounting tales of the neighborhood's celebrated past, his voice thick with nostalgia. This place used to be alive, you know? Kids running wild, laughter echoing in every corner. We cared for each other. Sam listened, captivated by the energy. I want to help us get back to that, he finally said, feeling the spark rise within him. Together. How can we do it? The crowd turned their attention to him, expectant, hopeful but also hesitant. He felt their eyes piercing through him, measuring, judging. You really think we can bring it back? Someone shouted. Why not? Sam raised his voice. It starts right here, right now. A small cheer erupted, buoyed by the intention behind his words. For every skeptical glance, it seemed there were a few more hopeful faces lighting up around him, their trust teetering on the edge. Renewal was simmering just below the surface, but would it be enough? Lily stepped forward again, emboldened. Can we paint a mural? She suggested, her eyes sparkling. Something colorful that shows all the things we love about our neighborhood. Around them, murmurs sparked like fireworks, igniting a whole new series of ideas. It was a simple request, but it shook Sam to his core. A mural, he echoed, thinking about connection, creativity, and healing. Yes. To cover up that old wall over by the park, where it feels so sad. It could be a place for everyone to share and come together. A chorus of agreement rippled through the crowd. Now it was a shared vision, a community project that could breathe new life, literally and figuratively, a bright splash of color on a long-gone past. Sam's heart raced. They were picking up steam. Hope felt tangible, almost electric. Yet, as the conversation buzzed around him, that text nagged at the back of his mind. "We need to talk," echoed in the chambers of his heart, underscoring his doubts. Was he truly ready to leave everything behind for this new path? But just seeing Lily's passion stoked the fire inside him. Perhaps he wasn't alone in this battle. "We can do this," he spoke up, voice steady and firm. "I'll take care of supplies, and we can get started by next weekend." Cheers erupted again, joy infectious, igniting smiles and laughter in abundance. But still, a shadow loomed within him. The past was not far behind. Just as they began mapping out their mural ideas, Sam's phone buzzed again, another message from his boss, sharper this time. "I hope you remember what's at stake." The laughter faded in an instant. The joy around him dimmed like a candle flickering in the wind. What if this isn't enough? He thought, feeling the weight of the world in that moment. Lily's small hand touched his arm, breaking through the fog. "Sam, are you okay?" she asked again, genuine concern etched across her face. The innocence in her eyes pushed back the darkness creeping in. His answer hung in the air, pulsing with uncertainty. Would he turn back to the life that suffocated him, or embrace the chance to forge ahead, no matter the cost? "You know," he finally said, voice trembling with the weight of his decision. I really want to choose this." And as he took a deep breath, the question remained suspended in the fading light. Was that choice strong enough to face what was coming? The night hung heavy with anticipation, the stars twinkling like tiny whispers in the vast sky above. Sam tried to absorb the collective energy around him, the laughter and chatter continuing to swirl, yet there was a distinct echo that rang in his ears, the voice of his boss, with accusations hidden in plain sight. "Sam, are you all right?" Lily's voice pulled him back. Her genuine concern cut through the fog in his mind. He turned to her, trying to muster a smile, but it felt strained against the weight of a decision that could ripple through his entire life. "Yeah," he forced out, even as his heart thundered in protest. I think so. I want to do this. I really do." "Then let us do it," she exclaimed, her enthusiasm spilling over like sunlight after days of rain. Her excitement ignited something in him, something dormant for far too long. The idea of a mural began to sound not only like a creative endeavor but a bridge between lives, an act of healing for a fractured community. As the energy resumed, Sam felt that flickering doubt ease just a bit. Ideas bubbled up, and he joined the conversation, brainstorming with the crowd about colors and themes, local stories and legends. Every new voice added texture to the vision they were creating, blending hopes and memories into an evolving tapestry. Yet, the text still reverberated in his mind. What's at stake? Through the excitement, Sam wondered just how deep this commitment would go. What if he plunged into this community only to face the backlash from his past? Would his boss accept it, or would he leverage every ounce of power to pull him back into a world that stifled him? Hours passed like minutes, and laughter threaded through the air once more. He watched as the younger kids chased each other and played tag, their giggles a sweet counterpoint to the heavy thoughts swirling inside him. Sam remembered his own childhood, those moments of pure joy before the world started to pile expectations on his shoulders. He blinked back a wave of emotion. "Hey, Sam!" Another voice broke through, a woman with a gentle smile. "How about we include handprints from everyone in the community on the mural? It'll give it a personal touch, a piece of each of us." A ripple of agreement surged through the crowd. Sam's heart fluttered. This really was becoming something special. Together, they were breathing life back into shared spaces, rekindling connections that had faded over the years. But underneath all this joy, anxiety tugged at him. He wanted more than just a mural. He wanted to be seen, to be part of a family that he felt slipping away with every notification on his phone. The balance between old loyalties and new beginnings grew heavier. Each ring of his device felt like a nudge back into the shadows. "I should call it a night," Sam finally managed, the vulnerability whispering in his heart. But I'll be back tomorrow to get this moving. Wait. Lily's eyes widened as she made her way to him. You're coming back, right? We need you. I promise, he said as he felt his resolve harden against the fears tugging at him. I'll be here. Leaving the gathering felt like stepping through a door that could never be closed again. He walked away amid the laughter, loneliness creeping back a little. His heart was raw, and once more the shadows began to close in. Just before he reached his car, he lowered his phone without checking it. He wanted to choose this path, but the looming message from his boss hung over him like a dark cloud. Would he let it? How could he escape the grip of his past before it caught up with him again? Tomorrow would have to be the day he confirmed his commitment. But as he glanced back one last time, the laughter, the hope, his decision felt delicate. Could he really embrace a future filled with color when darkness lingered just behind? Standing at the crossroads of his life, would he have the courage to truly let go? The morning sun spilled golden light into Sam's bedroom, yet he felt heavy with indecision. He stared at his phone, the screen lighting up in repeated notifications, mostly work-related messages that all felt suffocating. He squeezed his eyes shut, willing himself to forget. Last night's energy had been contagious, vibrant, and real, something he desperately craved. But could he stand against the storm brewing at his workplace? Sitting on the edge of his bed, he rubbed his temples. His boss had always been intimidating, a looming figure whose expectations cast shadows on every creative impulse. You understand the stakes, right? That voice echoed in his mind, wrapping around his thoughts like a vine that threatened to choke him. Could he break away? With a sigh, Sam pulled himself up. This day needed to be different. Staring into the mirror, he flicked on the light and searched for determination in his own reflection. Today, he was not just Sam the employee. He was Sam the artist, the community member, the man who wanted to reclaim his joy. As he drove to the community center, the doubts faded with every mile. The sight of kids still playing tag, the warmth of sunlight igniting colors around him, reminded him of the vision he had started to embrace. Unconsciously, he found himself smiling. Upon arriving, he spotted Lily, her enthusiasm as contagious as ever. You came! She exclaimed, her face lighting up like the sun itself. We're discussing the handprints idea. Everyone's really excited. Yeah, I'm here. Let us do this, he said, his voice steadying. As they gathered around a large piece of butcher paper, he felt the community's energy building again. Ideas flew, laughter surged, and a warm camaraderie enveloped them all. Each suggestion made his heart swell. He could almost see the mural start to take shape in his mind. Children and adults alike clamored to be involved, sharing their stories, their hopes. Let us paint the sunrise too. A small voice piped up from the back. Sam turned to see a girl, no older than 7, her dirty hands raised in excitement. It'll show a new day, a new beginning. Her innocent wisdom struck him like a lightning bolt. There it was, painted vividly in her words, hope. It wasn't just a mural. It was a message to everyone wounded and weary that renewal was always possible. He nodded slowly, a grin breaking through as he acknowledged the brilliance of her idea. I love it, he said earnestly. It symbolizes exactly what we're trying to achieve: unity and new beginnings. The crowd erupted in applause and cheers, and for the first time in what felt like forever, he leaned into the joy that painted their faces. But then reality crept in. As he gathered supplies for the project, his phone buzzed persistently in his pocket, a reminder that his boss was still lurking, still watching. Sam ignored it, but the knot in his stomach twisted tighter with each buzz, pulling his attention back to the very world he was trying to escape. Deep down, he knew facing this fear would be unavoidable soon, but today wasn't the day. Today was about connection, about building something beautiful together. Yet, the louder the community's laughter rang out around him, the more he felt the oppressive weight of expectation pressing down like a storm cloud. Would he have the strength to fully dive in, to embrace this venture when the storm inevitably rolled in? As he wiped paint off his hands, he felt the urge to confront his boss, to proclaim his choice with fervor. But then reality tugged at him again. What if he let everyone down? Tomorrow promised to be a battlefield, a showdown between his past commitments and newfound aspirations. The question hung in the air: could he silence the voice of doubt and hold on to the light budding within this community? He glanced at the little girl, who was now helping another child with her paints. Hope swirled around them, tangible and real. Maybe, just maybe, today could lead him to the courage he needed. But would he find it before darkness crept back? The chatter around the community center brightened Sam's heart, yet the persistent buzz of his phone weighed heavily on his mind. Each vibration felt like a pull back into the shadows of his corporate grind, a world defined by spreadsheets and deadlines. He took a deep breath, letting the smell of fresh paint and laughter settle around him, grounding him in the present moment. "Sam," Lily called, pulling him back to the lively discussion. "We need your artistic touch to draw the outline." "Right." He shook off his anxiety and joined the group gathered around the enormous sheet of paper. Picking up a brush, he began to sketch the sun, a radiant, vibrant shape promising the warmth of new possibilities. With Lily on one side and the little girl on the other, they leaned over the paper, an island of creativity amidst the chaos of his thoughts. "Can it be a big, big sun?" the girl chirped, eagerly brushing some blue paint onto her hands. Sam nodded, grinning at her enthusiasm. "Absolutely. Let's make it shine brighter than anything." The excitement was infectious. They worked side by side, voices mixing and laughing like a melody. The mural began to take form, color splattering and merging in a beautiful chaos. The sun blazed with shades of yellow and orange, and around it, handprints began to blossom in a rainbow of colors. Sam felt a sense of belonging swell up in him. But then, just as a burst of laughter rang out, Sam's phone buzzed again. It was the boss, a simple message that loomed over him like a dark cloud. "We need to talk about your performance." Panic welled in his chest. This was why he had come to the center today, to escape the weight of all that pressure. He glanced at Lily, who laughed, filled with joy, completely unaware of the internal battle vying for control over him. "Hey, take a picture of this when we're done," she suggested, her smile radiant. "It's going to be awesome." "Of course," Sam replied, trying to mask the tremor in his voice. A small part of him wanted to pull out the phone, to text back and explain his newfound passion. But what if he lost his job? What if he failed to meet the expectations that had shadowed him for so long? As he dipped his brush into paint once more, he felt the little girl's hand touch his arm. "This is really fun. We're making magic happen, right?" Her innocent eyes sparkled with earnestness. "Yeah," Sam breathed, blinking back unshed tears. "It really is magic." With renewed enthusiasm, he threw himself back into the mural. Each stroke of color whipped away the doubts, if only for a moment. Yet with every smile, every cheer from the group, the knot in his stomach remained, a constant reminder of the decision looming over him. Sam started to realize that tomorrow wasn't just a battlefield. It was also an opportunity to step into the person he wanted to be, the one who could balance obligations with creativity. Maybe he couldn't silence the voice that said he should be at work, but could he somehow blend his responsibilities with this newfound joy? As the sun finally materialized amidst the outpouring of colors, a profound sense washed over him. This mural wasn't just a project, it was a testament to resilience and hope. To the kids watching him, he wasn't just Sam, but something greater, a part of a community unlike any other. But deep down, the anticipation of facing his boss gnawed at him, darkening the joy a little. Could he face that confrontation without fearing the storm? Would he have enough courage to advocate for the life he truly wanted? He looked at the handprints coming together and thought about how each was a story, a voice. Each child's laughter echoed in his heart as he wiped his hands clean. Just a moment longer, he thought. Embrace this. And then, with a pulse of determination, he made a silent promise. Tomorrow would be the day. But was he ready to embrace the storm that awaited him? Would his voice be strong enough to be heard above the cacophony? The next morning, sunlight spilled through the curtains, promising a new day. Sam lay in bed for much longer than usual, his mind racing with thoughts of that looming conversation with his boss. Each tick of the clock felt like an impending countdown. Could he really muster the strength to stand firm for what he wanted? After a quick breakfast, he found himself staring at his reflection in the bathroom mirror, running his fingers through his hair. "You can do this," he whispered to himself, half believing the words. The vibrant colors of yesterday's mural danced in his mind, contrasting starkly with the dull gray of office walls he was about to face. The drive to work felt longer than usual. The scenery blurred by, the trees casting long shadows like his own doubts. What if he failed? What if he let that child with the sparkly eyes down? These thoughts spiraled as he parked in front of the sterile building housing his corporate world. He could almost hear the hum of the fluorescent lights inside, a predictable soundtrack to the pressure that awaited him. He stepped inside, and the familiarity of the environment wrapped around him. Yet today felt different. Today he wasn't just another employee. Today he carried the weight of that mural, of the joyful laughter of kids, and their fearless creativity. He could almost feel the paint on his hands as he navigated through the maze of cubicles. "Hey, Sam!" one of his colleagues called out, pulling him from his thoughts. "You look different today. Are you finally going to speak up in the next meeting?" "Maybe," he replied, forcing a smile. His heart pounded, not out of fear, but out of something deeper, a flicker of hope. As the morning dragged on, the tension tightened around him. Finally, the message from his boss arrived, echoing in his mind as he walked to the office, the door that separated his old self from something new. The storm was here, and he needed to stand tall. Knocking lightly, he stepped inside the office, instantly feeling the shift in energy. His boss, Frank, sat behind a massive desk, papers strewn around him like fallen leaves. He looked up with an expression that carried both authority and an unspoken weight. "Sam," Frank began, "thank you for coming in. I wanted to discuss your recent performance." For a moment, everything else faded away, leaving just the two of them. Sam reminded himself of that mural, of the laughter that filled the art room, of the little girl believing in magic. He took a deep breath. "I appreciate you bringing this up," Sam said, his voice steady. "But I want us to talk about more than just numbers. I want to discuss what makes me me." Frank frowned, confused. "What do you mean?" "I mean, I've been part of this corporation for a long time. I like my job, but something has been missing. I want to combine my work with my passion for art and community." A glimmer of surprise crossed Frank's face. He sat back in his chair, considering Sam's words. "You're aware that such changes could lead to less focus on your current tasks, right?" "Maybe," Sam replied, his heart hammering. "But what if that shift could lead to more creativity and energy in our team? I believe it could strengthen our work in ways beyond spreadsheets." Silence hung between them, thick enough to slice. Sam's pulse quickened as he grasped the weight of what he had just laid out. Was he really suggesting a transformation, not just for himself but for the company too? Finally, Frank leaned forward, intrigued. "You're serious about this?" "Yeah, I am," Sam said, feeling his voice strengthen like the colors in the mural. "I want to propose a program that blends community art projects with our corporate values. It could redefine how we see our roles." As they spoke, ideas began to flow. Sam felt a surge of energy as if he were standing before that mural again, feeling the brushes in his hands, ready to create something beautiful. But just as the conversation turned lively, a familiar dread threaded through him. What if Frank shot down the idea? What if this didn't go as planned? The risk of falling back into the shadows loomed. Yet as Sam looked through the glass window of the office, watching people bustling outside, he thought of the little girl's laughter, the warmth of the painted sun, and the promise he made to embrace whatever storm came his way. Would he have enough courage to anchor this idea and finally bring a splash of color into his life? "Let us explore this more," Frank finally said, his tone shifting from skepticism to curiosity. "But you'll need to be ready for some pushback from management." Sam nodded, a flicker of hope igniting within him. "I'm ready. Let us make some magic happen." But as he stepped into the hall, a sudden realization hit him. Was this the beginning of something new, or just the prelude to another challenge? Would he truly be able to break free from the expectations that had bound him for so long? Tomorrow would bring another chance, another question. Would he embrace it fully or hesitate? The echo of potential lingered in the air, a challenge to be answered. As Sam stepped back into the chaos of the office, the buzz of conversations felt both overwhelming and comforting. His heart raced, fueled by a mix of excitement and trepidation. He could feel the heaviness of expectation pressing down on him like a weight. Yet behind that weight lay a flicker of hope, a light at the end of the tunnel that he hadn't dared to envision before. He walked back to his desk, still buzzing from the discussion with Frank. His mind replayed the moment, how it felt to vocalize his dreams, the palpable shift in the air. Who was this new Sam that was daring to suggest something so bold? What if it didn't pan out? The hours dragged on, but he couldn't shake the feeling that something significant had shifted. Every time he caught a glimpse of the mural he had painted in Community Center, a wave of warmth washed over him, filling him with the strength to ward off negative thoughts. His mind wandered back to that little girl with sparkly eyes. She had believed in him when he couldn't believe in himself. Maybe that belief was what he needed to cling to now. The afternoon stretched, but he found comfort in distraction, working on reports, replying to emails. But a restlessness churned within him, begging for more action, more creativity. This was the new Sam, ready to rise, yet clinging to the familiar safety net of his tasks. After a long day, he reached out to a couple of colleagues he felt closest to. They needed to know his vision, he needed their support. As they gathered in the break room, Sam took a deep breath, his palms growing clammy against the edge of the table. "I want to tell you about something I'm proposing to Frank," he began, his voice both nervous and excited, "a community art program that can align with what we do here." Their reactions were heartening. Karen, who always had a soft spot for creativity, leaned in eagerly. "That sounds amazing. It could bring a whole new energy to the team." Tony chimed in with a grin. "Art and corporate probably don't match in most people's minds, but I'm intrigued." Encouraged, Sam spread his concept before them like a canvas, detailing how art could build teamwork and infuse joy into what often felt like a mundane routine. Their enthusiasm lifted his spirit, setting a fire inside him. Perhaps this support was the ignition he needed. But as they shared ideas and laughed about painted murals on office walls, the reality of the situation loomed heavily in Sam's mind. The management would be the real challenge. What would they think? Would they dismiss it as a frivolous distraction? The insecurities that he had battled for years threatened to creep back in. As the day wound down and he prepared to leave, the rush of excitement was replaced by doubt. What if the higher-ups shut this idea down hard? What if Frank didn't support him after all? The thought of returning to a silent existence filled with spreadsheets made his stomach churn. The next morning came sooner than he expected, and he felt restless as he arrived at the office. He was greeted by the usual sterile environment, but today something felt different. He sensed an undercurrent of change in the air. With each step toward Frank's office, he reminded himself of the laughter, the colors, that little girl and her unshakable belief in magic. It was time to gather that courage and harness it. Sam knocked on the door, feeling both vulnerability and exhilaration clash within him as he entered. "Frank, I wanted to discuss how we can move forward with the community art program," he ventured, his heart pounding. But just as he began to lay out his plan, the door opened wider than he expected. Their eyes met, and for a fleeting moment, he felt as if the walls were closing in again. But then he took a breath, steadied himself, and prepared for whatever came next. Would he find a supportive ally in Frank, or would this bold new step turn into a leap into the unknown? The weight of his dreams hung in the balance, waiting to be taken seriously at last. As Sam entered Frank's office, he felt time slow down, every second heavy with anticipation. Frank sat behind his desk, arms crossed and brow furrowed. "So, community art program? Tell me more," he said, his tone cautious yet curious. Sam took a deep breath, gathering thoughts that felt like butterflies in his stomach. "It's an opportunity to blend creativity with our corporate identity. It can boost morale, foster teamwork, and reinforce our connection to the community, he explained. Imagine employees collaborating on mural projects, engaging with local talent, and creating a shared sense of purpose. Frank's expression shifted slightly, his brows raising at the passion in Sam's voice. Interesting. But you know the company's main focus is profit-driven goals, right? Yes, but creativity can lead to innovation, Sam quickly countered, feeling the undeniable energy within him. Art encourages new perspectives when we think outside the box. We innovate in all areas, including our work. Plus, it gives back to the community we draw from. It could create lasting relationships. Pausing, Frank considered Sam's words. The silence in the room felt alive, full of hope and anxiety. Sam could see doubt flickering over Frank's face, battling with real curiosity. After a moment that felt like an eternity, Frank leaned back in his chair. All right, how do you propose we implement this? With palpable excitement, Sam laid out actionable ideas: initial workshops, local artist collaborations, community events, and a launch day, a celebration to unite the team and the people. With every word, Sam felt the weight in his chest lift. They were talking about possibility as if it were a living thing they could all shape together. I like this, Frank said finally, his tone softer. You'll need support from the management team. If you're serious, come back to me with a detailed plan. But I warn you, he added, seriousness creeping back in, this needs to be more than just an idea. You'll need buy-in and results. Absolutely, Sam replied, feeling invincible. I'll show them how it makes a difference. As he left the office, the spark of possibility danced in his chest. Each step felt lighter than the last, a reminder of that vibrant mural waiting back at the community center. For the first time in a long time, he felt the pull of joy rather than the weight of obligation. When he arrived at the community center later that week, the energy was electric. Families gathered, laughter swirled, and kids painted with bright abandon. Among them, Lily stood, fervently working on a section of the mural she had envisioned. She caught his eye and waved excitedly, her curly hair bouncing as she danced around, completely immersed in the beauty of creation. Sam! She called, rushing over. Look! We made the sun even bigger! She pointed to a section where her colorful handprints melded with others. And we added flowers for happiness. His heart swelled. It looks amazing, Lily. We're making art that means something, he said, kneeling down next to the mural and tracing the vibrant colors. A crowd gathered around them as Sam explained his recent successes, sharing how they could take this from a simple mural to something broader, an initiative that involved the entire company. You know, he said, looking in her eyes, I feel like we're abounding with magic, don't you? Her eyes sparkled bright and sure. Yes. I believe in magic if you believe. Before he knew it, the idea transformed. Together, they discussed ways to integrate storytelling and art into upcoming gatherings. Hands flew up with suggestions, everyone's excitement at the culmination of their past into this beautiful future pulsating through the gathering. The project became more than just a mural, it evolved into a shared vision of a revitalized community, a new legacy of connection forged through creativity. As colors blossomed on the walls, warmth blossomed in Sam's heart, wrapping insecurities in gentle resolutions. Each brush stroke was a release, a laying down of burdens, and a promise of change. Their laughter rang bright through the air as neighbors contributed, smiling and sharing their stories. Sam felt a clear shift not just in himself, but among those around him. But as the sun began to set, casting long shadows, Sam couldn't help but feel a flicker of worry return with the approaching day when he pitched the program to the management team. There would be naysayers. But he took a deep breath, pulling strength from the community surrounding him. The little girl's unwavering belief in him reminded him every challenge could lead to something greater, something beautiful. I'll do it, he whispered to himself. This is the moment. This is my chance to make a difference. The following week, he gathered his materials. Standing before the management team, he spoke from the heart, pouring everything into his pitch. As he laid out his vision, the energy in the room shifted, and the skepticism began to fade, allowing possibility to emerge. By forging this connection with creativity, he finished, we can change not just the way our team works, but we can also touch our community in a way that matters. As their quiet murmurings filled the room, he felt a swell of hope and excitement. Maybe, just maybe, they would embrace this chance to transform not just their company but themselves. In the end, it wasn't just about the mural, but about reigniting the passion for belonging both in walls and in hearts. The promise of tomorrow lingered ahead like unfinished strokes of paint on a canvas filled with potential, just waiting for the right touch. In that moment, he knew he had truly embraced his transformation. The storm had passed. The sun had risen again. And with a smile, he understood that sometimes, it takes the heart of a little girl to light the way home. Now, to all of you watching this story unfold, this transformation wasn't just Sam's. It can be yours too. You need to subscribe now to witness even more incredible stories that will inspire you. Leave a like right now. Your support feeds the algorithm and helps us shine brighter. Share your thoughts, reactions, and feelings about the ending in the comments below. And don't wait not even one more second. Share this video with at least 5 friends who need to be inspired by the magic of transformation. Let us spread this light together.